Hello, welcome to Hockey on Tap podcast. You son of a bee. This is episode 93. I am your host, Bill Dean. I'm, of course, here with my three co-hosts, Little Steve, Schwim, and Shorts Guy. We're brought to you by Primetime Radio, courtesy of Sam Wu. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Google, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Please leave us a 5-star review if you'd be so kind. Steve, what's eating you, Gilbert Grape?
Whatever.
Yep.
Got a beer here. It's Black Tag.
Absolutely.
I don't care.
No, that's
fine.
I
got a beer. I don't care.
Shorts Guy, you suck. Shrim, how are you? What kind of drink are you yelling it for?
I'm good, Guy. What's up? And then there were two. Me and you, Guy.
I should just. Is there two shot on here? No, it's just me and Steve. Yeah, there's no two shot. Oh wait, hold on. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
This
podcast is only for winners.
Only for winners.
I don't even care.
Right.
I don't even care,
Yeah.
guys.
No. Okay, all right,
Do
so let's get the beers, and
me,
then
yeah.
I will go right into that because I do have. I have to apologize. So, all right. So I'll go first.
You're in such a totally different mood than last.
No. You'll see that very quickly.
Very much different. I think you've said more already than you have the whole last
Windlass.
podcast.
Yeah, I probably did. Windlass of Erasmus. Thank you, Schwim. Sour ale.
You're welcome.
Blackberries, black currants, black sea salt. All things delicious, and the artwork is fantastic. So, and an awesome color. So, good beer. Shrimp.
This one is from our good pal Shorts Guy.
Nice.
Cape May.
Hey.
Featuring sour, baby. Opening it up.
I like it.
Steven, of course, you cannot have this.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately,
See, at least I didn't offer it to him.
I know. I wasn't offering. I was just saying you can't have it.
I knew Steven couldn't have it.
But it is delicious, Guy. Thank you.
You're welcome. I still have one more I have to have.
Shorty.
All right, so I went with a very enjoyable one that I always have. I've got three things to show about this. One, here's the can, Wildwood Haze. It's a hazy IPA. I know Schwim really enjoys this. I think you guys do as well.
Very good, yep.
I am having it out of my new Super Mario Brothers, and this is kind of why I chose the hazy. Super
awesome.
Mario Brothers 3, Sun World, Glass.
It pairs well.
It does pair well. And what's cool about these cans for the Wildwood Haze, just a quick story. There's a song that is pretty famous and pretty popular down Wildwood called Wildwood Days, and it was It was not written by, but it was recorded by a guy named Bobby Rydell. And Bobby Rydell just recently, in the last month and a half, passed away. So on all the cans of Wildwood Haze, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but they put on the bottom where the date is, they put for Bobby, which I thought was really cool. So I wanted to make sure I got a 4-pack of these so I can at least hang on to one of them. Because you hear that song when you're down there. You hear the song everywhere. So rest in peace to Bobby Rydell. And he recorded one of the classic songs for the town. And you guys know that I'm always down there. And it's my favorite place to go. So there you go. Bobby Rydell.
Not bad.
Cheers,
and
Bobby.
Esteban. Cheers, Bobby.
I already told you. I don't care.
All right.
Whatever.
All right, so yes, let's just go right into it because obviously, the elephant in the room is myself.
Hey, check it out.
Oh, there it is.
All right, I like it. I do like it.
It's a good pour.
Dark.
That is a very good pour.
Woo!
Look at that logo.
That is a very nice cup. Shorts Guy, you suck. I'm about ready to put
Shorts
you
Guy, did you get this?
Just the three of us.
Yes, I
Did
did.
you get this for us or was it your sister?
No, my mom actually bought that when they were down there. So my mom.
Yeah, Shorts mom.
Beer.
Shorts mom.
My sister randomly called me yesterday when I made that executive decision to get us more. So
that was a good decision, Guy. I like it.
Good decision,
Steven, I'm assuming you're in on that decision since I didn't hear back from you. But
Yes, of course. I had most of them, but they're all good.
all right, cool. Yeah, I kind of figured you would have had most of them.
I think I had everything but the Riesling because that's new.
Yeah, that just came out recently in February.
Honk for hops. This is pretty cool, though. I'll read the description. It is an imperial stout brewed with coconut and cocoa powder. Like the special low-numbered license plates seen throughout our home state of Delaware, not ours, because we obviously don't live there. Black Tag is a singular ale of great depth, and it's as special as it gets. This decadent imperial stout is brewed from massive amounts of dark grains with generous additions of toasted coconut, coconut water, and cocoa powder. It doesn't smell coconutty. You'd think it would.
Okay.
Not bad.
And I've
Go
seen
on
those
with the pour, Phil.
I
All
hope
right,
you
boys.
enjoy it.
So let's get to what's on tap for today's episode. Here's a weekly snapshot. We are down to 8 teams. Obviously, the Western Conference, Eastern Conference ended. The first round of the playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs, round 1 ended on Sunday. It was the second time ever.
The one series ended last Monday. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but I could have sworn it ended last Monday.
I thought somebody mentioned something about that.
Early.
Hold on, don't worry, we're getting into this, guys. Don't hold on. Second time ever having 2 game 7s go to overtime. There were 5 game 7s in all on the weekend, 2 6s and a sweep. Maybe that sweep is what you're referring to as Colorado on Monday, but there was also a Monday drubbing, and I was on the podcast. You might not have noticed I was on the podcast, but I was.
We noticed.
I was a little sour, obviously, because my team had quit.
Sour.
My team
Salty.
had quit games 3 and 4. They just decided not to show up to the rink, and gave all the Rangers fans a nice, what felt like a parting shot. And then, they unfortunately Sidney Crosby goes down on a questionable hit. And it immediately jumped the Rangers, and Louis Domingue remembered that he's Louis Domingue, the third-string goaltender, not the all-star starter that goes and wins a playoff series. And the Rangers come down and win it with a Artemi Panarin overtime goal in Game 7 and advance the series. Listen, am I happy that they beat the Penguins? Yes, because they should have beat the Penguins. Am I happy on how they did it? Absolutely not. I think that this team is very flawed, and I didn't see that the entire season because they were always very consistent. They were the comeback kids, all this other thing. And they did that a lot in this series too, but they were always consistent. They always give a group, an effort as a group, and they were always into the games. And I did not see that this 7-game series. I thought that, each game they gave up multiple periods where it was like they weren't even there. From the game that I was on at the triple overtime game that I had invited Steven, but he didn't want to come with me. That game, you're actually very smart because that traffic would have killed us both. That game where they opened up the first period, they score the goals to get them going, and then they just gave up the last 5 periods. The game 2 was the only one where I saw that they played hard. 3 and 4 were atrocious. You saw that on podcast on Monday. And then games 5, they got lucky that, Sid kind of I really do think that a lot of it came down to Sid leaving that series. I think that, the Penguins would have beaten the Rangers in 5 if Sid didn't leave, and get injured with a concussion. And I think that obviously, it was really good to see him back in Game 7, and same thing with Raquel, and same thing with you and Tristan Jarry. Although, and Steve, this is why I'll ask you the question: do you think they should have kept with Domingue, knowing that Jarry's just come back from injury, he's been out for a couple weeks? Was that Game 7 the best possible time to put him in?
Yes. I think at that point, they had to play him. In fact, there was some whispers about him potentially going in Game 6 also. Okay. I mean, Louis Domingue, it was a great story from the start. You got to like the guy. He's super humble.
Hard not to like him.
Yeah, he's just a really good guy. And the story, he comes in the triple overtime, right, and then he wins. He loses the next game, wins the next 2. But all throughout the series, his numbers were not great. 900 save percentage, he pretty much rode the entire series around 900 save percentage and a 4.0 goals against average. And that continued through the end there. And there was rumors of playing Jarry. Jarry was skating prior to Game 6. There was some rumblings about him potentially starting, and that it all coming down to pain tolerance at that point, which, of course, after Game 7, we all found out just how injured he still was during the press conference when he came out in a completely ice-wrapped foot and a significant limp. So he certainly struggled through it, and I think for the most, you could tell that he was uncomfortable in that game, but I think he played reasonably well. 2 goals went off his own player, one of which was going nowhere near the net. But yeah, I think he had to go in at that point. You need to put him in for a Game 7. If your guy is well enough to take shots in practice, you got to throw him in Game 7. Just, it's Game 7. You got to put whatever out there. And, if they had another game, if that was Game 6 there, I'm sure they rest him. And who knows, if they end up winning the series, he may not start Game 1 of the next round. But, it was desperate times, and they kind of had to do what they could, and wasn't quite enough.
Yeah, they had to play him. I think they had to play him for 2 reasons. 1, to get him in there, actually get him back there because he's been out so long. And 2, to maybe jumpstart the Penguins because they just lost 2 straight games. And hey, we got our starting goalie back. Let's get him in there. He's been practicing with us or whatever to try to
and I think
jumpstart them a little bit.
Some people are saying that that game-winning goal that he let up in Game 6 is the reason why they went with Jari, but I'm not buying that as being the sole. I'm sure it's certainly a contributor because that hurts a lot, and I'm sure that hurt Louis a lot also. So I felt horrible for the guy because he's a third string goalie. He's doing what he can, and you can't expect much more of what he gave unless he goes on some sort of miracle run, which just is so uncharacteristic. I mean, he is what he is, and that's what we got. And, it wasn't quite enough. And I honestly can't believe it. It shouldn't have gone 7 games, honestly.
Nope.
When you look at the matchups, I contribute most of it to, yes, they exploited the Rangers' weaknesses throughout the series, but also, Shesterkin really wasn't there. He had great moments, but he really wasn't there to steal games from this series.
Yeah.
So, and that's what he did throughout the entire season. He stole games, and you kind of hide. You can hide your weaknesses if your goalie is stealing games because you just don't see it because your goalie is, you're only seeing how good your goalie is. But, yeah, I mean, it was nice that it went to 7 games, but I would have loved for them to move on, and I would have loved for them have not lost in the way that they lost. But it was a good series. I got more than what I expected, and the better team moved on. That's the bottom line. So yeah. I'm okay. I'm certainly okay with that.
One more question for you, and I think this is an absolute dumb question to ask, but I see idiots all over the place asking this question. Should Mike Sullivan take any of the fall for the way this season went, this playoff rounds? I think that's absolutely ludicrous to ask because I think he bringing them to 7 games is pretty crazy. But
and you know what? I think even though they lost in 7 games, I'm still a true believer that he outcoached Gerard Gallant throughout the entire series.
Absolutely.
It came down to some bad puck luck with Mike Matheson scoring 4 goals on his own goalie throughout the series, and just mistakes, execution by his own team. The system was there, and basically every statistical category of this series, the Penguins beat the Rangers, except for the score and except for the series. So I think Sullivan did a fantastic job for what he had. I mean, you go into Game 6, you're out your top star in Sidney Crosby, you're out your number 1 goalie, your number 2 goalie, you're out your top pair defenseman, you're out your top trade deadline acquisition, and then you lose Brian Boyle. You lose Brian Boyle. Not that that's a major impact, but you lose him during the course of the game. That's another forward. But that's Game 6. You have all those guys out. And, if it wasn't for Evan Rodriguez taking that stupid penalty, it changed the game. The Rangers score 5 seconds into the power play, and then Zibanejad scores another one, a minute after that, and that the entire course of that game is changed. And you can basically those 2-0 blown leads, you can pinpoint both of them. The first one to Sidney Crosby going down because the game immediately turned after he didn't return to the ice. And Game 6, Evan Rodriguez's penalty, and then the Rangers score in bunches, and 3 real quick, and then that's it.
I didn't see the penalty. What was
Mike
the
Sullivan
penalty that he took?
He literally just went right at Lindgren's head for no reason. It was the most unnecessary, stupid penalty he could have possibly taken, and it changed the entire game. And Mike Sullivan's face to Evan Rodriguez pretty much summed up every Penguin fan in that moment. But yeah, I'm very happy with Mike Sullivan. I know there's also a lot of Penguin fans in the network who are saying fire Sullivan, his system doesn't work, he lost the locker room. But just achieving what he achieved, and he had that long streak where the 23 games or whatever it was, where they were 17-2-2, which skyrocketed him from out of a playoff position to almost tops in the. They might have been first place in the Metro for a hot second. But what happens is he has these players. They eventually just run out of steam. His system is very fast paced, and some of these guys who are in there, the energy guys, they just eventually you just run out of energy. You can't do that. You can't maintain that for an entire season.
I was just say if they were obviously losing Crosby was, I think, the big factor, but if they were to beat them in, I think that the reason why the Rangers were able to outlast them is because of the young legs that the Rangers have versus the age and that Pittsburgh was dealing with injuries too. I think that's an absolute factor. But yeah, I mean,
guys are playing with injuries too. So
yeah. Shesterkin needs to be better. Finally, Zibanejad wakes up in Game 6 and then in Game 7.
All your stars start to wake up.
Panarin gets the game winner in Game 7, which he was, the analytics said he was good. He was terrible by eye test. He was god-awful.
In Game 7 especially, he was bad.
Yeah, real bad. That penalty he took you guys scored the power play goal. And thank God Patrick Nemeth was a healthy scratch because he was so atrocious. He had 2 4-minute majors for high sticking that drew blood, and both power plays for the Penguins they scored, which led to direct losses for the Rangers. It was, I don't ever want to see him again, but
I can't imagine you will, because Justin Braun was the extra, right? I don't know why he would have been. He was fine, Justin Braun, he's good block shots, getting in the way. I can't imagine unless there's injury. I can't imagine. Oh, by the way, that Nathan Beaulieu trade ended up.
Oh yeah,
working. He didn't play a single minute, so they literally got him for free.
Nice, that's good.
I've never seen it in a trade before.
I mean, anything else, Steve, on your Penguins before we go on to the playoff matchups?
No, I mean, we'll go into obviously
off season.
This is potentially the end of an era, which is upsetting. I know Penguin fans, we didn't expect much. Maybe had some high hopes looking at how they went to that 3-1 lead and they coasted through games 3 and 4. So maybe it gives you gave us a little bit of a false idea, because that wasn't the Rangers. Whatever Ranger team showed up for that game wasn't true. And then the series evened up more in games 1, 2, and then 5, 6, and 7. Those 2 games were just kind of an anomaly. But it could potentially be the end of an era. It's also unfortunate that Game 6 Sid was out, and that could have potentially have been the last home game that all 3 could be playing together. So there's a lot to discuss when we talk about off season and that, but that's something that is just on my mind right now. Just kind of not so much the playoff exit and another first round exit. I think it's 5 in a row now, which stinks. But yeah, just thinking about that 16 seasons of Malkin, Crosby, and Letang could potentially be.
Haven't they made the playoffs for that many straight or something?
So here is my trivia question. I was going to save this until the end of the show, but I'll do it now. Who is the active leader for playoffs consecutively, or being in the playoffs consecutively? Seasons in a row. Well, what player?
Oh, I was saying the team. I thought they've qualified.
What player is the active leader for consecutive playoffs year after year?
Active leader.
Is it McDonough?
Consecutive playoffs. Oh yeah, is it McDonough?
It is McDonough. It is McDonough.
He hasn't missed the playoffs. He's never missed the playoffs.
Now, hold on. So the Penguins, obviously, the trio has been in 16 consecutive playoff seasons.
But they haven't all participated.
Yes, each one has been hurt for at least one series, so they didn't get that.
That is true.
So that's why it's not the Pittsburgh trio, which they've been in 16 straight. But Malkin was hurt one season, Letang hurt another season, then Crosby, obviously the year we had the concussion, he wasn't in the playoffs at all. So that's why it is not the Penguin trio. It is Ryan McDonagh, first with the Rangers and then now with the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Every single season of his career, he's made the playoffs. That's crazy.
Every single season. Yeah, pretty
That's
cool.
Wild.
All right, so I wanted to get into a couple more things. We'll do quickly. Pete DeBoer out in Vegas. He was fired after
Hello, Barry Trotz.
missing the Vegas.
Yeah, that's
playoffs.
true. That could be his new
Barry
landing
Trotz.
spot.
Although I hear Barry Trotz to Manitoba and the Jets more and more, so we'll see how that happens. And then the Isles hire their coach, Lane Lambert. He's going to fill in for Barry Trotz, the aforementioned one of the best coaches in the league.
Correct?
Yeah, he's been the assistant for
he was
quite
with
a while.
him in Washington too.
Yep. And then obviously guys like Marty St. Louis got the thumbs up to return. So current job openings are Detroit Red Wings, Philadelphia Flyers, obviously the Knights now, the Winnipeg Jets, and then the Islanders obviously had the new coaching hire in Lane Lambert. And then interim coaches still, Chicago Blackhawks have Derek King. Edmonton Oilers have Jay Woodcroft. I would assume he's going to be back next year because he's led them to the playoffs. Andrew Burnett, currently with Florida, who's obviously going to probably be back as well. And then Marty got the go-ahead for the Canadians.
Hello, Marty.
I don't know if you guys have been following just quickly, but United States is playing in the World Hockey Championships. They did lose to Finland today. I was trying to look at the roster. It's Luke Hughes. They get a bunch of other guys, but it's just not.
He won them a game yesterday, or the other day.
Yeah, buddy.
Yep. He beat Austria. Yep.
Just wait. He'll
overtime.
be beating the Rangers. He'll be beating the Rangers in overtime at some point, too.
Yeah, not until you get a goalie. So how about that one? Enjoy your top 5 pick once again.
Enjoy your season and a half of success under Gallant before he gets fired and goes downhill.
No, he's got 2 more seasons. He's got 3. He gets 3.
Yeah. So and he's staying out wherever he goes. He's staying out wherever he goes.
Yeah.
He'll have one more full good season, and then the season will fall apart halfway through the third, and he'll get fired.
Yeah, well, hopefully we win a cup within the 2. So.
Oh, you ain't doing that.
All right, so the teams that have been ousted, we talked about the Penguins. What's next for these other teams? So Bruins. Obviously, Patrice Bergeron's one of those guys that's talked about retirement. He said he wouldn't make the decision now. I do believe he comes back. And if not, where does that kind of leave the Bruins? Any thoughts, Shorts guy or Schwim?
I can see him coming back. When they were, I was watching the post game about him after that final game, and them talking about him. He needs to make this decision later on in the summer. I think Wayne Gretzky was saying that, which is you never want to make a decision like that under emotional circumstances. Yeah. But they still have a good team in Boston, so it's not like he's going to a team that's questionable or going to be on a rebound and. On a bounce. So it's not like he's going to be, if he decides to go back, he'll have a good team that's there, and he's still capable of playing at a pretty high level. So I can see him coming back just to give it one more go around, and maybe just do year to year. I think that would be his best bet. And
comes back on a 1 year.
Comes back on a 1 year, and not for any other reason other than like, all right, well, let's see how this year goes, and re-up for 1 year. If I gotta imagine Boston would be okay with that, because you don't want to saddle yourself to a 3-year deal and then a year and a half into it you're like, this is just I'm done. So yeah. I can see him maybe coming back year to year, 1 year deals, and at some point 2 years, maybe 1 to 3 years he'll call it quits. But I don't see why you wouldn't want to come back with that team in Boston. He's still
all right. Schwim,
there's still the chance for success.
Go ahead, Steve.
No, it's only there's only 2 options for him. It's either come back or retire. He's not going anywhere else. So.
No, those Montreal fans that think he's going to come there are dumb.
He's basically flat out said he's either Boston or nobody. So
yep. Schwim, the team that your Bolts ousted, the Toronto Maple Leafs. What are your thoughts? You watched them for 7 games.
I did.
Where do you think they go from here? Sorry, 6. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I missed the last game.
I was shocked at that.
I can't believe that fell.
I think he should not watch more games because they won both times that he didn't watch.
I raged quit game 6 after the second period. And I didn't check anything until the following morning. And I'm like, oh my God, they actually won. And then
I don't know
game
how
7,
you can do that. I don't know how you can do that and not check anything.
Game
wild.
Game 7, I was away. Me, Steven, and Steven's brother Miguel. We went to go see Weird Al in Pennsylvania. So
awesome.
I was only I didn't get to watch the game. I was only like following updates and stuff. But yeah, it was awesome. So that series, I don't know. I might have had like 11 or 12 baker's dozen of heart attacks throughout. I was very loud and very angry most of the series. Even when they won, I think I was still very angry.
That's hard to believe. That is hard to believe.
I was angry. I was angry that the Rangers won.
Thought that.
But yeah, that series was I'm like when I knew that they were going to play Toronto, I'm like, please God, don't let this be the year that Toronto finally breaks like their first round curse that they have against my team. Let them do it another year against any other team, please. And it took 7 games, and that was like what I was most happy about, that they didn't lose to Toronto, and finally Toronto gets over the hump, and it's against my friggin' team. So the series wise though, I don't know, man. Like Kucherov was their leading scorer, but he did not look good in lots of games. Now, I'm not going to say every game, but a good majority of the games. Vasi was pretty mediocre. I think his save percentage was his save percentage was around 900, and his goals against was over 3. But the last 2 games, though, I have to say, he played very well. The 2 games that they won, Game 6 and Game 7, especially Game 7, he played really, really well. That's what I'm used to seeing, that Game 7 type performance. Friggin' Stamkos only had 2 goals. He was on fire going into the playoffs. He only had 2 goals in that series. Nick Paul, 2 4-letter words, I don't mind. He went off in the last 2 games. He was great. No, he really was great. But going forward now against Florida, and I think my boy, who I put his jersey up right here,
hold on. We're not.
I can't talk about.
Hold on.
You literally said, how do you think they are going forward?
No, my question was, I asked you to give me your takes on Toronto and what they do in the offseason. That was my question to you, and you.
I did not hear that.
Toronto actually looked good.
They looked very good. I don't think they have too much, honestly.
I just think they just ran into Tampa, and Tampa was a better team. They didn't shoot themselves in the foot. I know they were up 3-2, but I mean that's not an impossible deficit to overcome for a team. So I don't think they blew anything. And even a 3-2 lead, and when Tampa on a 5-on-3, right? Tampa ties it on a 5-on-3.
Yeah.
Like dumb penalties by Toronto, but it's just like I think I don't think Toronto needs to like blow anything up because their stars showed up and produced, and for the most part looked really good. They just have to remember, like, yeah, it's the first round, but you just played the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions who are still a contender and still a contender for a 3rd straight cup.
Yeah.
One of the top 3 or 4, right? That would be considered to win the cup over Toronto too, even though they were a lower seed. But it's just. I don't know. I was impressed with Toronto. They didn't pull a Toronto. I don't want people to say they pulled a Toronto. I know they lost again.
Really, really well.
But it just was unfortunate circumstances that they drew into this first round matchup.
Yep.
And I think it's got to be mentioned that Vasilevsky might be one of the best clutch goalies.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
After a loss
of the modern times. Not only after a loss.
17-0. 17-0.
Yeah, not only just after a loss, but just when the game matters.
In a Game 7,
it's going to take.
He's dialed.
It is going to take a special. It's going to take something special for them to lose with the way he plays in those meaningful games. And it was post game when they were. I think Stammer was in the interview. He said that they had asked what Vasi was like during the day, and he was basically like he doesn't talk to anyone, which got me thinking. It's like, yeah, that is how you prepare especially as a goaltender. You just kind of shut everyone and everything out, and all you care about is what's in front of you. And as long as they have him, it's going to have to be a special performance by a team to defeat Tampa in a game that matters, unless Vasi for some reason and I don't see him doing it, but mentally checks out for like 2-3 games in a row, which I doubt he's going to do. But goalies always, kind of run into some streaks, and it could be an unfortunate circumstance.
Steal a game or two from Florida for them to be able to come out of that series.
You have to remember, even though fatigue's a factor, it's back-to-back, back-to-back Stanley Cups. You went through the whole. The benefit is the fact that both those seasons were shortened, so they didn't play quite as many games as like a normal, back-to-back team. But fatigue is still gonna come in, and playing a Toronto team with that type of energy and that style can wear down Tampa. And then if they can make it past Florida, it's Toronto. That's crazy. Times 5, right? As far as skill, speed, and energy goes. So I mean, they're really going to have, if they're going to do, back to back to back.
They're going to be underdogs again.
And then on top of that, if you want to fast forward, and just assume, right, they make it to the Stanley Cup final. Colorado makes it to the Stanley Cup final out west.
It's going to be awesome.
And that is Florida. I think that's awesome. Florida, another Florida times 2. So that's a lot to go through to ask for this team. So it's going to be tough for Tampa. And I really do think. I think if this series was last year, for instance, I think Tampa easily handles Toronto. But I think that the fatigue factor played a role in this series and why it was as close as it was. Even though Toronto is a very good team, I think Tampa as a whole is a much better structured, obviously a much better coached team, and therefore a better structured team. But I do think, and Vasi's pedestrian numbers, I think, while he still played very well and he still played very clutch, I think maybe that fatigue is actually starting to sort of show a little bit.
Okay, so we'll get off of the teams for right now. We'll go right into the matchup. So Florida, Battle of Florida, Panthers, Tampa Bay Lightning.
And Alberta.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that too. In winning the President's Trophy, the Panthers beat the Bolts in 2 of 4. Obviously, fresh wounds from Tampa knocked them out in 6 last year. Also. Yeah, well, that's 2 of 4.
Billy Dean, just for you, I'm going to be Billy Dean.
4. That means Tampa beat Billy Dean 2 of 4 also.
I'm going to be an equal opportunity asshole.
Yeah.
So, anyways, obviously, fresh wounds from last year where Tampa knocked them out in 6. The Edge, obviously, Tampa being the 2-time Stanley Cup champion, 9 straight series wins. Glowing 17-0 record after a playoff loss and a money goaltender in Andrei Vasilevsky. They can squeeze a foe.
Thing up here?
Yep.
That's huge.
The Toronto series was tough. Florida cleared a huge mountain last week in its first ever series win since 1996. The rematch, is obviously going to be fantastic to watch. Players to watch: Carter Verhaeghe, who was once a Tampa Bay Lightning, by the way, racked up 12 points so far. Second only Oilers star Connor McDavid. Claude Giroux, also brought in from Philly, has 7 points in the last round. Stamkos, Kucherov were both fairly quiet, but they do have to be better. In goal, obviously, Vasi versus Bobrovsky is not even a quiet contest. I'm going to go ahead and say Tampa Bay Lightning in 6.
In 6? Wow.
Yep.
My goodness gracious.
Bold. That is bold. What kind of coffee you drink over there?
Who next?
Kucherov had 8 points, 2 goals, 6 assists, and like I said, Verhaeghe with 12 points.
Yep. Whew. All right.
How's Point?
I mean, Point is.
I need to make my prediction based on Point's injury.
He's doubtful for game 1. They already said that, which means he's not playing. And they said after that he's considered day to day, but I don't think he's playing at all. He was in horrific pain on the ice and on the bench, and then tried to come back and
crying on the bench.
It was terrible.
What happened to him? I missed that.
That's bad.
He he went to the board. fallen like toe picked and fell on his leg. It was not a good sight. But I don't know. I think he's out for I don't know.
Gonna change your prediction here now.
No. I'm gonna take Lightning, but I'm gonna go in 7 now. I'm changing up the games. Lightning in 7.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Maybe he makes an appearance. Who knows? But I don't know. It did not look good. The optics did not look good.
Shorts guy. Your prediction.
Yeah. So, for fear of getting run on Friday for this prediction.
By Schwim?
If you say Hurricanes,
you might anyway, even if just because.
Yeah. I'll run my own goaltender.
Oh, I know you will. You'll score on your own goaltender.
I'll score on you, and then I'll run
you. No, I think even though Vasi is the much superior goalie, there's something about the fatigue factor that may come in, especially with the way that Florida tends to somehow go down 5-2 and score 7 goals.
Yeah, they're scoring machines
in the second half of the game. Yep. They're scoring machines, and as great as Vasi is, you can only do so much if Florida is able to continue that relentless barrage of shots. I'm gonna say Florida in 6.
Just quickly think about the difference in this team for Florida, the run and gun team, versus the last time they made the Cup Finals in, what was it, 94, 95?
No,
6.
Complete
96, sorry.
6.
Yeah.
They played the trap in that series better than the Devils used to play the trap, where they were grabbing and holding and just relentless, terrible hockey. Just think of the two discrepancies between what you're looking at now versus then.
And you're looking at one of the when they were last in this anywhere near the playoffs like this, they had one of the most storied American goalies in an old school stand up style, like one of the last of the kind like that too.
The Bees.
John Van Beesbrook, the Beezer.
The Beezer.
Which was one of the greatest helmets of all time, was his Panthers.
Yeah, his helmet was awesome.
That was one of the best helmets of all time. So I'm probably going to get run on Friday, but Florida in 6. I'm probably going to get run twice.
Steven
will protect me.
I will. And I'm still saying I hate picking games, because I know I did pretty well last. I think that LA series, which I was close. They went to 7 games. I think with no point, and just based on your update and based on what we saw, and I'd be surprised if he comes back at all this series, unless he just tries to come back at some point during the last couple games, if it's close, game 6, game 7. Kind of like that. Yeah. I don't see Florida. How Washington was up 3-0 on Florida in game 5, I think it was, and Florida scored 5 straight goals. But I don't even know who was in goal. Samsonov or Vitek Vanacek are absolutely not Andrei Vasilevsky. So I don't think they'll be able to do that as easily, and they're going to have to, figure out how to play a more structured, complete game instead of, going down and relying on a comeback. That being said, I think losing point, I think, is really their unsung MVP outside of Andrei Vasilevsky, even more so than Hedman, I think, at this point in their respective careers. I don't know if Tampa has enough left in the tank, Schwim. I'm rooting for Tampa, but I think Florida wins in 6.
So we got 2 Florida 6s, right?
And that prediction 7? That prediction will not come to fruition, Stephen, because that was my pick, and I'm terrible at this. So
yeah.
Well, I'm also I've been known to make bad picks in the past. I don't know if you remember last year.
Vancouver Canucks.
And I am a living bad pick. So.
Yeah, I mean, look at your team you root for.
Shut up,
all right.
Dean. Go Canes, go.
My only loss last year, or last week, for first round last year, from the first round was the Bruins. I had them upsetting the Carolina Hurricanes, which leads us into this series: the Hurricanes versus my New York Rangers. I'm still upset about.
Did we get Schwind's prediction?
Not as upset. We didn't.
Well, I didn't. I thought you said you don't pick your. Oh no, that's Steve. All right, sorry. What's your pick?
Well, my brain is saying Panthers, but my heart is saying Tampa, obviously.
Well, obviously.
Yeah. So
I got to pick the same.
Who you betting money on? Who you betting money on?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm betting money, I'm probably betting money on Florida. But I'm not betting money, I'm picking Tampa. Tampa in 7.
All right.
Okay.
Zona bet.
That's actually not bad. Like Tampa could win the series.
They could win it.
I don't think you can go wrong with. I think the only way you can go wrong is saying that one's going to win in 4 or 5. But I think it could go either way. Honestly.
It may be a knockdown, drag out fight until Game 7.
Mm-hmm. It might be. It does get a little bit violent.
I think it definitely. Game one is going to be a.
It's going to be fun to watch.
It's going to be.
Leading playoff scores for the Hurricanes Rangers, Adam Fox with 9 points. On the other side, Hurricanes, their defensive duo of Jacob Slavin and Tony DeAngelo, both with 8
Tony
points.
D.
DeAngelo leads in assists. Listen, it's I hiccuped and coughed at the same time. Carolina with a 2-1 advantage in the regular season over the Rangers. Second youngest team of the 16 playoff teams being the Rangers. They dug out from the 3-1 hole versus the Penguins. Carolina obviously had its hands full with Boston, and as the lowest team in shots on goal to make the second round, now face obviously a very much different goaltender in Igor Shesterkin. The Canes' depth is their strength. Players to watch, obviously Mika, Panarin if he snaps out of it a little bit, Chris Kreider, Adam Fox, obviously the goaltender we talked about. Jacob Slavin's playing 23 minutes a night for the Canes, 8 points, tied with McDavid and Forsling with the best plus minus at plus 10. Jordan Staal is just under 60% on faceoffs, which the Rangers will rank last in the playoffs. They're awful.
Surprising.
Shesterkin, in goal versus Antti Raanta, former New York Ranger. Actually, it's really the Rangers versus the new Rangers South. You think about it with Antti Raanta, you have Derek Stepan, you have Jesper Foss, you have their 3 defensemen in Brady Shea, Brendan Smith, and Tony DeAngelo. It's ridiculous how these guys go south all the time. This is a quote from Tony DeAngelo. I couldn't care less who we play. We just have to worry about what we're doing. They're a really good team, power play, high-end, firepower, great goalie. They're resilient. I'm sure they have a lot of confidence going in this round, but so do we. And remember, I punched out their backup goaltender.
He had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
And obviously coming back to the racist comments from Brad Marchand, so it's going to be fun playing him. Awesome. Like Schwim, my heart wants to root for the Rangers, but I am realistic, and I'm going to say I want to say Hurricanes in 5, but it's probably going to be in 6. Hurricanes in 6. In the Garden, they're going to smack us.
Next.
Wow.
We'll go in order. Short Sky.
Yeah. This one's easy for me. The Canes are going to win the series. Yeah. I was going to say 6, but I also think that there could be a big emotional letdown from that big comeback against the Penguins. It could be one of those things because the Rangers are so young. But the Canes are young too. But who's the home team in the series? Is it the Canes?
Carolina. Yep.
Okay, and Carolina is and that last series, the home team won every single game. However, I'm going to say Canes, and I'm going to say 5. I'm going to say it's emotional letdown after that big series against the Penguins, and they just can't do anything.
Fair. Yep.
It's another coaching matchup, and I think Rod Brindamore wins the matchup there. Very similar teams, right? With
run and gun,
with their skill, young skill, right? And although Carolina has obviously the Rangers in the regular season had a very notable edge,
on Pittsburgh.
but also at the same time, I mean, you look at Ronta didn't play the entire series, but they when they were in Boston, he was letting up his fair share of goals too. But I still think obviously the edge goes to the hands down Vezina winner in Shesterkin, even though he looked shaky basically throughout most of the series. Game one, Game one he looked great, obviously, and it took that miraculous deflection to beat him. Game two he also played very well, and then 3 and 4 not great. Game 5 also not great. Game 7 he came. Game 7, with the exception of I think it was a great effort by Rodriguez at third goal. Gensel's second goal was just amazing. I don't know what you can do about that. And then the first goal barely went in. So he did play very well, much better in Game 7. But he looks human. But obviously, and also decided edge in defense, because if anything got exploited horribly in this last series with Pittsburgh and the Rangers is the Rangers defense, and you give them a little bit of forecheck pressure, and they're in quite a lot of trouble. And Pittsburgh did a good job doing that, but Carolina is a much better team at doing that. So I think I won't. Well, you picked 6. Short's got to pick 5. I also want to pick 5, but the safe route is always 6, right? So I'll pick 5.
Yeah. Wow. Other than Adam Fox, and a little bit Keandre Miller.
Keandre Miller made a lot of mistakes. He looks good sometimes, but he makes some plays that can sort of make you forget about some of the other stuff he does. And I think that's what Adam Fox does too, because watching Adam Fox so closely in the series, because he was on the ice so much, he is exploitable. He's a solid defenseman. He's great pushing the play, right? Moving that play up, controlling the play, quarterbacking the play. Back in his own zone, he's certainly not a Roman Josi or Victor Hedman.
No, his best play is the ability to get it out quickly and get it up
to
the
puck. Yes. Yep. And his hockey IQ going forward and moving the play, getting out of his zone is good. But he's not. He's definitely. He has flaws. He's still a young defenseman who's got time to grow. But he's. We'll see how this. It's all about Carolina forecheck. If that Carolina forecheck can get on those Rangers defensemen, it could very well be a very quick series. Yeah. Sorry, I went too long on that one.
No, that's okay.
That's okay.
Schwimmer.
I think actually it's going to be a little bit closer than people think, because Carolina at times against Boston really didn't look that great, and I think the Rangers.
How are they going to do in the Garden?
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. I think the Rangers are a much better team than Boston, so I think they could steal a couple games from them. I still have Carolina winning overall, but I think it's going to go the distance. I got Carolina in 7, winning it at home.
I like it.
Fair.
I want a competitive series. I want the Rangers to have maximum effort. Can't have a game 3 and 4 against this team. They'll run you out even more than the Penguins did. So
they'll close you out. They'll close you out. You give them the opportunity, they're going to close the series.
Okay, let's go to the West. First series up, we have the Colorado Avalanche, St. Louis Blues. Regular season, they split in October, and then Colorado took both meetings at the end of the season. Obviously, last year, Colorado took the meeting, sweeping off the Blues en route to the, after losing. Who has the edge? So Avs at the stage year, they have the President's Trophy. They obviously, had more to prove than the Blues, through the roster that has changed. St. Louis now has Jordan Binnington in net, Craig Berube behind the bench. He kind of took over from Husso. Players to watch, Cale Makar is just one of the most electric NHL players there is. For the ability to jump up a play, and then I'm also just trying to track Nathan McKinnon, Gary Landeskog. Vladimir Tarasenko has 40 career playoff goals. David Perron, Ryan O'Reilly, obviously are ridiculous as well. They're getting healthy. Justin Falk, Colton Parayko, might even see Torrey Krug back. In net, it's Kemper versus Binnington. I think Kemper probably has the advantage, I guess I would say. I know that Binnington has the playoff acumen, but I would rather have Kemper. I'm sure you guys agree. I'm going to take the Avs, and I'm going to go in 5 games.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I'm torn with this one because the Avs are obviously the better team. But sometimes when you sweep your first round and you have a very long layoff, it can really kill any and all momentum you have. But it's at the same time, I don't think that the Blues are, really that much of a powerhouse in order to beat Colorado. I'm thinking Colorado's going to win, but I think it's going to be a closer series. I think it's going to be. I'm going to say Colorado in 6. I think that they're going to slip a little bit out of the start. I think that sweep, which is a blessing and a curse because you get a little bit of time, but it kills your momentum. So I'll say Avalanche will win, but it'll be 6. It could potentially go 7 as well.
Just quickly, playoff leading scorers: Kel McCarr with 10 points, David Perron with 9, 5 goals.
So, St. Louis is a good team. I'm not a believer in Binnington at all. I know he has good stats and winning the last 2 games or whatever it was.
Not consistent.
But you know how during the season you'd you're flipping through scores or whatever the games, and you notice that you see that game and it's like Colorado lost to Arizona, and you're like, what? I think we're going to get one of those, and Colorado's going to win in 5.
All right. Schwimmer.
I think I kind of agree with Short Sky a little bit on this one, that it's going to be slightly closer than everybody thinks. Everybody thinks Colorado's like a powerhouse, which is,
they are.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
But St. Louis is a good team, and I think they can, and Colorado's had that layoff for a little bit. I think they can go into Colorado for the first 2 games and get a split and then go back to St. Louis. I don't think Colorado's just going to roll over them like they rolled over Nashville. I think it'll be a little bit closer. I'm same thing like what Steven was saying with Binnington. I'm not convinced like he's going to be able to stand on his head and steal the series for St. Louis over Colorado. I actually think that something will happen and they'll probably go back to Husso, and that's going to be like their downfall. They're going to play both their goalies.
Yeah. Shuffle.
And not because of anything injury related, because of performance or they're down or something like that. I got Colorado. I got Colorado in 6.
One of the questions on that playoff pick'em we're in was who's going to have the higher save percentage, Darcy Kemper or Ville Husso? I was like, Husso's not even
might not
play. So when you put
he may not even play, but you never know. They seem to be very. Berube seems to be very quick to make a goalie change, so you never know.
Yeah, they could lose 1 game and go right back to Husso.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, last one. Battle of Alberta, Calgary Flames, Edmonton Oilers, the 1 versus the 2. Regular season records, Flames 111, Oilers 104. Playoff leading scorers so far, Johnny Gaudreau with 7 points. Connor McDavid, 14. He single-handedly brought this team
14
to the
points
second
in
round.
7 games.
Yeah, he is otherworldly. 40-year rivals. This is the first time since 1991 they've met in the playoffs. Up and down season for both teams. Last year, obviously the Oilers, had the issue in the playoffs with just having their 2 guys. Now it's really just the 1 guy, McDavid. Draisaitl seems to be hurt. I don't think I've seen Connor McDavid play better than the last series that he just played. I thought he did everything that his team needed, including playing defense, being physical. He was smash mouth. The Flames had to be sharp defensively against the Stars. Slowing down McDavid's not going to happen, but if they can slow down the rest of them, it's going to be, a tough series for the Oilers. McDavid, obviously, playoff points lead. Draisaitl not far behind. Evander Kane's tied for second in the postseason goals. Elias Lindholm, Mikael Backlund, Johnny Gaudreau, they all are doing awesome. They're kickstarting that 8.3% power play, which was one of the worst in the league. Mike Smith, he's doing pretty decent, but Jacob Markstrom's 943 save percentage is tied with Chip Bennington of the Blues as best among second-round stoppers. I'm going Oilers in 7. I'm going Oilers in 7.
All right.
Okay. Wow. Okay. What I am hoping for is that both teams kill each other every single game. I'm hoping it's
a given.
just.
There's no way that's not going to happen.
I am hoping for nothing but a violent 7-game series. I think, though, whoever wins this series will lose in the Western Conference Finals because there's going to be a ton of emotion in this series. I think this series is going to go 7. I'm going to say Calgary in 7, but then Calgary winds up losing in the Western Conference Finals because the emotion from this series will be running so high that the Western Conference Finals, they're going to be spent. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to say Calgary in 7. If there was, just a way to say that no team wins because they just destroy each other to the point where they got to bring up both AHL sides by Game 7, and then it's just a madhouse for the Western Conference Finals. But yeah, I'm gonna say Calgary in 7.
So, first of all, how about Jake Ottinger? For God's sakes,
he was good.
He was
great,
phenomenal.
He was great
in that last series, and
good old
I think
American boy.
The only reason why that series was as close as it was because of him, and that was like an otherworldly performance by a goaltender. Otherwise, Calgary, I think, pretty easily wins that
really
series.
Awkward. That winning goal that Calgary scored looked really awkward. Just the way Ottinger was wound up.
He lost his stick, made the first save, and then he tried to get over and just couldn't get the
stick. He was there.
Yeah, he was there. He just looked really awkward when on the ice as that goal was scored. So anyway, sorry, Steven, I stole your.
No, I wanted to talk about him from the get-go because of it. Just the performance was incredible, and it was the only reason Dallas was in the series. Dallas they have one line, right? And every game was close. You look at Ottinger's numbers, and then you look at Markstrom's numbers. Like Ottinger, he had the better numbers, but Markstrom's are also incredible. So it was, both goaltenders playing great, Calgary defense playing great, and Calgary's system is too well structured for. I mean, you have McDavid, and McDavid is McDavid, and he's going to do McDavid things, but I don't think anybody else can counter that system. McDavid might be able to create. He's going to create some things and some chances, and probably score some points. But at the same time, I mean, Edmonton on their back end aren't great. I picked LA just because I don't want to pick Edmonton, basically. And LA by no means is a great team. Yeah, they do some sneaky stuff. They have some decent young guys, and they're maybe a little bit better than people think that they are. But are they actually that good? No, they're not. And should they have been in that position in the third seed there? Probably not also. And that was a close series. And Calgary is absolutely not the Kings at all. They are, one of the best teams in the league. So I don't think, I don't know. I can't imagine Edmonton competing with these guys. Maybe there's a weird Mike Smith performance mixed in there somewhere, but to be safe,
there's a butt goal coming.
To be safe, I will pick Calgary in 6 to be safe.
Okay.
So I think the first round series, Calgary versus Dallas and Edmonton versus the Kings, kind of worried me a bit for both teams. because I think going into those series, they were clear favorites. Like Calgary was a clear favorite, and Edmonton was a clear favorite, and they both went 7 games. So I'm like, that kind of worries me going into this series. I'm like, is one team going to perform kind of like they did in the first round, or how's the goaltending going to be? Because the goaltending was back and forth. Like Mike Smith would have a really good game, and then LA would light him up for 4 or 5 goals, Markstrom was pretty consistent the whole time against Dallas, and they still went to 7 games. So that kind of worries me about maybe Calgary's offense going into this. I still overall, I think Calgary's definitely the better team overall. Like goaltending wise, I think they have the advantage. Yep. Their forwards, I think overall they have the advantage, even though there's like 2 of the best players in the world on the other team. But I think overall they still have the advantage. Oh,
yeah, someone's behind me.
I was waiting for chips to. I was waiting for some chips to be knocked off the top of the bridge.
Yeah,
I thought I heard something before.
Having Tyler Toffoli and Kalle Järnkrok on the third line is very awesome for depth.
So, I mean, that series, like Short Sky stated, I think that series is going to be a bloodbath. They're going to pour everything into that series because it's been so long that they've faced each other in the playoffs. So that's why I think whoever comes out of that series is going to be pretty much doomed in the Western Conference Final. Mm-hmm. Having said that, I don't know, man. I've watched Mike Smith for so many years, and I can't see this guy taking a team on like a Stanley Cup run to win a Stanley Cup.
Wait. You can't see it, or you don't want to see it?
Both. I don't want to see it, and I can't see it. It's just. I mean, I can't. I gotta pick Calgary. I mean, I don't know. I think they run over them. I'm going Calgary in 5.
Wow. Okay. All right. So just 2 quick things I want to bring up. The defense. Yeah, the defense for Calgary. Hannafin, Rasmus Anderson, Oliver Shillington, Michael Stone, Zadorov, and Erica Branson does not scare me in one bit.
No.
And then you look at the defensive, and everyone talks about the defensive centers that this team has with Lindholm and Backlund. Connor McDavid just faced 2 Selke-type centers in, Kopitar and Philip Deneau, and he got 14 points and is killing everybody. And this is with Draisaitl. Even though he has very good points, he was bad in that series. I think that McDavid's on a mission. It's not going to be enough to win in a Western Conference, but for the finals. But I think he beats this team. So
it's going to be tough. I don't. It's. I've never heard of one. I know McDavid is on another level, but I've never heard, and I don't know if you guys have. I've never heard of one player being able to overcome a team, any team, but let alone a team as good as Calgary. I just can't. Yeah. I just can't see it.
I mean,
no one player besides a goalie. A goalie can steal a series. I don't think a single player can.
Did you read if you're a really good team? LA, I'm not saying LA's a bad team. They're not. They're actually really surprising this year. I didn't think they were going to be that good this year, and they surprised a lot of people. And where they finished, they finished 3rd in the division and everything. They surprised a lot of teams, and maybe that's what happened in the first round. They surprised it, but there's no way. You took LA to 7 games. Are you kidding? Calgary's a totally different animal, man. I can't see them the same kind of thing happening. It's going to be a shorter series. It has to. It's going to be.
And the battle. Well, you know what though?
Exactly.
They do.
The fact that it is the battle of
anymore.
Yeah, but the fact that it is the Battle of Alberta and it's a rivalry matchup in the playoffs. There's a lot riding on it in the stands as well.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of pressure from. Nuts. There's going to be a lot. Yeah, they're going to be nuts. They're going to be nuts inside and outside because both teams are going to have a massive fan fest. So there's going to be a lot of pressure from the fan bases, which could be a positive, but it could be a negative. If you go down at home in this series in a rivalry, it could turn ugly really quickly. So that's always something to kind of think of too when you're trying to pick this series, the emotions are going to be running so high, and and what sucks is because of the Western games, they're going to be later, but at least with it being out in Alberta, they should start maybe like 9:30ish, maybe 9
or 9:30.
Edmonton is a little later.
Are they in the West? Are they in the Pacific time zone, or are they in the Mountain time zone?
Pacific.
Specific. But the NHL might actually make those games a little bit earlier, just to kind of play towards the
smart.
East Coast audience. It's smart if they do that. Which it sucks for the home fans. They're going to possibly have 6 p.m. starts, which sucks. But it's the playoffs, and you're gonna. I mean, geez, if the Devils had a game against the Rangers that started at 4, I'd be like, later, work them out. As soon as that final bell rang, I'd be in my car and at the arena. But I'm excited for this series because I just want to watch just mayhem.
Kick the crap out of each other.
Yeah. I hope Theo Fleury's there.
I have a bold prediction for this series. That'd be amazing if Theo Fleury's there. But I have a bold prediction for the series. Not like my when I called Mike Smith was going to have a turnover that directly led to a goal. I have my bold, but it does involve Mike Smith. I think he's going to lose. He's going to lose his temper and do something horrible to somebody and get suspended for like 2 games, and they're going to have to play their other goalie, and that's when they're going to get lit up. They're going to play Koskinen. He's going to get lit up.
That's it. Very possible that he will get involved in a fight or
something will happen.
Something along
him and Milan Lucic.
Yeah,
that would be possible.
That's my bold prediction.
That'd be very funny. Anything else you guys want to touch on real quickly before we head out?
I have one more thing.
I'm going to say one thing. We've gone through this whole episode and we have not acknowledged that this is episode Little Steve.
Yeah.
There we go.
93.
Get it right.
I had to acknowledge it. This is episode Little Steve.
Thanks, Shorts Guy.
You're welcome, guy.
Also, a little bit. We talked about it, but the Devils did. Our first overall pick went to Montreal.
Number 2.
Second overall went to the Devils.
Win another damn.
They should absolutely trade it for something worth it, but they. We'll see what happens.
That's. I still have to do my homework on who's there in the draft or whatnot.
It's either a winger or a defenseman.
There's Quinn. There's rumblings of Quinn.
So
Hughes, Quinn Hughes.
I said last night on the Let's Go Devils podcast that you have a number 2 pick. Our biggest issue right now is goaltending and then defense. Whenever that phone rings, Fitzgerald has to be picking up that phone.
I'd actually call Winnipeg.
Fitzgerald has to be
Hellebuck.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about that on the podcast, saying that like that's something that we should potentially do and bring Hellebuck in. I would love that. An American kid, I would go nuts. I'd have his jersey.
Gibson is also an American kid. Yeah, but I wouldn't give the second overall pick for Gibson, honestly. But Hellebuck.
For Gibson, I would.
Hellebuck.
I think he's been on a bad team.
I know that.
I think that
second overall pick,
especially in this year's draft, though, I think I would do it. Not next year's draft.
I think you have to. No, not next year's draft. If this was next year's draft, no way. But with this year's draft, I think you have to take any and all phone call, listen to any and all offer, and potentially do one of those things where, like when you're a contract worker and you don't want a job, you just quote this a stupid high price just because you don't want it, and then you just kind of throw these, we'll take this guy for number 2, and just see who bites on that. Like whoever calls, like, what do you want? Oh, I want this. Just outlandish stuff, and it's someone's dumb enough.
Who wants the number 2 pick that badly? That's what you have to kind of think of. Like, who is so if the Devils are the Devils are in a position.
Not just the pick.
They're in a position. The Devils are in a position to trade that pick, so it's not necessarily like an unwanted pick. But who wants the number 2 overall pick? And it's try to figure it out. Try to figure it out that way. And I would think it would have to involve somebody who actually wants to be traded. So it kind of handcuffs management. Otherwise, I don't think you're just going to be like, yeah, I guess we'll take the number 2 overall pick for Connor Hellebuyck and just not have a goaltender for the next 10 years. I can't see that happening. So,
but not for nothing. If you have someone like Hellebuyck coming in, then maybe say, hey, we'll give you number 2 in Blackwood.
Yeah, Blackwood
I do love Blackwood.
That's what I'm saying. They have to add to just trade him.
And I do love Blackwood, but if you can bring in Hellebuyck, who's established for the number 2 in Blackwood, it's like, to me, that's a trade that you have to honestly look at and say, like, yeah, that's probably for the best of the team. I mean, you have to field any and all calls leading up to the pick the moment of the pick, because the Devils have to do something. I'm not against them bringing in tangible difference makers that are established right now for that pick at all.
And young-ish.
Youngish, yeah, obviously, yeah. Because we have a young core that needs to grow around it, and will grow around it. So,
well, it's going to be fun getting up to the draft, and obviously we're looking forward to the second round starting. At least 2 of us are, and really, I think all 4 of us we like hockey. So,
go Canes, go!
Nightmare 425, very good.
Yeah, guy.
Oh man, here I'm just going to pick it up. I put mine in a little palm tree, getting ready for the weekend.
Nice.
It's Wildwood Haze. I got to give it a 3.75. I love it.
Esteban.
I'm a terrible beer rater.
Shrimp.
Short Sky again, 4.0. By the way, did you see the interview after the Tampa beat Toronto in the Game 7?
Yeah,
Stamkos offered Bissonnette a shot of Crown Royal.
Yep.
Good. That's what you get. Very good. That's what you get, Biz.
All right, Shrimp, take it home.
This is what the Leafs are doing.